The great vessel Stellar Inquiry hung in the darkness beyond Earth's moon, its iridescent hull designed to blend with the cosmic background. On the observation deck, Director June stood with his hands clasped behind his back, studying the blue planet through the view screen. The energy signatures are inconsistent with their technological development, Science Officer Hannah said, her six-fingered hands manipulating the holographic display. They've barely established a presence on their own moon, yet we detect quantum fluctuations that suggest theoretical understanding beyond their apparent capabilities. June turned to face the assembled survey team. The Concordat's mission is clear. We seek advanced civilizations to strengthen our alliance. This species appears primitive. With respect, Director, Hannah countered, something unusual is happening here. Their development curve is exponential, not linear. They've progressed in 2 centuries what took our ancestors 2 millennia. Navigator Tai adjusted his uniform collar. We should move on. 3 potential candidates remain in this sector. No, Joan decided after a moment. We will observe for 1 planetary rotation. If nothing of interest emerges, we continue our survey. As the team dispersed, Hannah remained at her station, focusing the ship's sensors on a cluster of research facilities in a region the humans called California. Something about these humans fascinated her. Their chaotic, unpredictable nature perhaps, so unlike the careful, measured progress of Concordat species. Let's see what makes you special, she whispered to the glowing blue marble. Hours passed as Hannah monitored the data streams. She noticed unusual energy spikes coming from a small facility nestled in a mountain range. The readings suggested quantum experimentation far beyond what humans should be capable of. Director, she called over the ship's communication system. I believe I found something worth investigating. June arrived quickly, his silver uniform gleaming under the soft lights of the observation deck. Show me. Hannah displayed the readings. This facility is conducting experiments with quantum entanglement at a level that should be impossible for their current technology. It's as if they've skipped 3 developmental stages. Curious, June admitted, stroking his chin. Prepare a stealth probe. I want detailed scans. The probe, no larger than a human hand, detached from the ship and descended through Earth's atmosphere. Its outer shell changed color to match the sky, making it virtually invisible. It positioned itself above the facility, extending sensitive instruments to gather data. The humans are attempting to create a quantum communication network, Hannah reported as the information came in. But their approach is unorthodox. They're using materials and methods no Concordat scientists would consider. Is it working? June asked. Hannah's eyes widened as she analyzed the data. Yes, not perfectly, but they've achieved partial success. They're establishing quantum links across thousands of kilometers with minimal degradation. How is this possible? Navigator Ta had returned, drawn by the excitement in Hannah's voice. I don't know, she admitted. Their theoretical foundation seems incomplete, yet they're achieving results through what appears to be trial and error. June frowned. No advanced species develops technology through guesswork. That's what makes them interesting, Hannah insisted. They don't follow established patterns. They make intuitive leaps. The probe continued transmitting data, revealing more about the facility. Inside, human scientists worked with equipment cobbled together from various technologies. Their approach lacked the elegant efficiency of Concordat design, yet somehow produced results. Look at this, Hannah pointed to a specific reading. They've accidentally created a quantum field effect we didn't discover until our 4th millennium of space travel. June's interest was fully engaged now. Extend our observation period. I want comprehensive analysis of all major research centers on the planet. Over the next day, the crew deployed additional probes to monitor human scientific activities worldwide. The pattern repeated. Humans making technological advances through unorthodox methods, often stumbling upon solutions that should have been beyond their grasp. They're like children discovering calculus through playing with blocks, Engineer Sun remarked as they reviewed the findings. It shouldn't be possible, Yet there it is. The most surprising discovery came when a probe monitoring a university in a region called South Korea detected something extraordinary. Director, Hana called urgently. You need to see this immediately. The team gathered around her display. These humans have theorized the existence of the subspace field that powers our FTL drives. They haven't built anything yet, but their mathematics, it's heading in the right direction. Impossible, Security Officer Bo stated flatly. That discovery requires understanding of 11-dimensional space. They barely comprehend 4 dimensions. Yet here it is, Hannah said, displaying the equations written on a simple board in a human classroom. They've approached it from a completely different angle than our scientists did, but they're circling the same truth. June studied the equations with growing concern. If they develop FTL capability within the next century, they would emerge onto the galactic stage far sooner than anticipated, Tai finished. And given their unusual development pattern, who knows what other technologies they might create? We need to report this to the Concordat High Council, Jun decided. These humans require special consideration. As they prepared the report, an alert sounded from the long-range scanners. Hannah checked the readings and felt her blood run cold. Director, we have an incoming vessel. Krell's signature. The mood on the bridge darkened instantly. The Krell Dominion was the Concordat's greatest rival, known for their aggressive expansion and exploitation of developing worlds. They must have detected our presence, Bo said, or perhaps they were already surveying this sector. If the Krell discover what these humans are capable of, Hannah didn't need to finish the thought. Everyone knew the Krell approach to potential threats. Early elimination. Establish communication with their vessel, Jun ordered, and prepare our defenses. As they waited for the Krell ship to come within communication range, Hannah looked once more at the blue planet below. These strange, chaotic humans have been creating wonders through intuition and persistence. They deserve the chance to reach their potential. We came looking for advanced civilizations, she said quietly. Instead, we may have found something more rare and valuable. What's that? Tai asked. A species that thinks differently than anyone else in the galaxy. Hannah watched the approaching Krell vessel on the scanner. And now we may need to protect them before they even know we exist. The Krell ship maintained its distance, a dark silhouette against the starfield. After tense negotiations, Director June had convinced them that Earth was under Concordat study protection. The Krell had reluctantly agreed to honor the scientific claim, but their vessel remained in the system, watching. They are paradoxical creatures, Hannah reported 3 days later. The observation period had extended as the team discovered more curiosities. The briefing room's display showed humans in various environments, Arctic researchers, desert nomads, underwater explorers, all without genetic modifications. Their adaptability is unprecedented, she continued. They maintain cohesion despite thousands of languages and belief systems. They create art with no practical purpose. They intentionally seek out dangerous situations for what they call excitement. Director Jun watched footage of humans responding to a devastating tsunami. Look how they rush toward disaster rather than away. They save strangers at risk to themselves. Illogical, commented Security Chief Min, yet effective. Their technological development is uneven, added Engineer Da, bringing up new diagrams. Advanced quantum computing alongside internal combustion engines. Primitive nuclear fusion, but sophisticated artificial intelligence. It's as if they're advancing on multiple fronts simultaneously, rather than following the standard development sequence. Jun made his decision. We need more direct observation. Prepare a surface team. Minimal footprint, observation only. Hannah volunteered immediately. Something about these humans called to her scientific curiosity, and perhaps something deeper. The preparation for surface contact was meticulous. The team selected a small town near one of the quantum research facilities for their first close observation. Medical Officer Jin adjusted their appearances, reducing their height, changing their skin tone to match local populations and modifying Hannah's six-fingered hands to the human standard of 5. Remember, Joan instructed as they prepared to transport down, observation only. No interference with local activities. No sharing of technology. Our goal is to understand these creatures, not influence them. Hannah, Dai, and Min nodded their agreement. Minutes later, they materialized in a wooded area outside the town. They wore simple human clothing acquired from their data on local customs. Atmospheric composition is within tolerable limits, Min reported, checking his disguised scanner. Radiation levels higher than our homeworld, but within safety parameters. The settlement is 2 kilometers that way, Dai pointed. Remember your cover stories. They walked along a dirt path leading toward the town. Hannah marveled at the untamed vegetation growing all around them. On Concord at Worlds, nature was carefully managed and contained. Here, it grew wild and free. The town itself was a shock to their senses. Vehicles powered by primitive combustion engines shared roads with electric cars. Buildings of varying ages and architectural styles stood side by side. Citizens moved about with no apparent central coordination, yet somehow the system functioned. Look at their food distribution, Min whispered as they passed a market. Completely inefficient, yet they have abundance. Hannah observed 2 humans arguing over the price of vegetables, their expressions animated. Their emotional responses are so pronounced, yet they maintain social cohesion. They continued through the town square, where a group of humans had gathered around a musician playing a stringed instrument. The sounds were mathematically imprecise, yet Hannah found herself moved by the melody. This music serves no practical purpose, she noted, yet they allocate significant resources to its creation and consumption. Their entire society is filled with such contradictions, Day replied. Look there. He pointed to a building where humans were entering. A sign identified it as a library. Inside, they found rows upon rows of physical information storage units. Books. Incredibly inefficient, Min remarked. Their data networks could contain all this information in a fraction of the space. Yet they maintain these repositories, Hannah said, running her hand along the spines of the books. And look, fiction is given equal space with factual information. An elderly human approached them. Can I help you find something? Hannah smiled, practicing the expression they had studied. We are just visiting. This is our first time in a library. The woman looked surprised. Really? Where are you from? Far away, Dai interjected smoothly. We are travelers. The woman nodded. Well, feel free to look around. Books are the greatest journey of all. After she left, Min whispered, what a strange sentiment. How can these objects compare to actual space travel? I think she meant metaphorically, Hannah replied, opening a book. Inside were stories of imaginary worlds and beings. Fascinating. They create entire universes in their minds. They spent hours in the library, absorbing the strange mix of knowledge and imagination that humans valued equally. Later, they found themselves in a place called a cafe, where humans gathered to consume stimulants and engage in social interaction. Hannah sipped the bitter drink called coffee, surprised by the complex flavor. Around them, humans discussed politics, relationships, and abstract concepts with equal passion. They debate ideas for pleasure, she observed, not just for practical application. And look at their response to strangers. Da noted as a child dropped something and 3 unrelated adults moved to help. They formed temporary cooperative units without formal structure. As evening fell, they witnessed another phenomenon. Humans gathering in a park where a disaster had struck months earlier. Together, they planted trees to replace those lost in a fire. They actively repair their environment, Hannah said, watching the humans work together. And look at their facial expressions. They derive satisfaction from the process, not just the outcome. Min's scanner beeped softly. We have a situation. The Krell vessel has launched a probe toward Earth. They quickly found privacy to communicate with the *Stellar Inquiry*. The Krell claim they are conducting their own observations, June informed them. But their probe is scanning military installations. I fear they see opportunity here. These humans are remarkable, Hannah reported. Their cognitive architecture allows for creative problem-solving unlike anything in the Concordat. And their social structures. They're chaotic but resilient. The Krell would see only a primitive species ripe for exploitation, Jum said grimly. Continue your observations, but be alert. I fear our presence has drawn unwanted attention to this world. That night, as the teen rested in their temporary shelter, Hannah looked up at the stars, knowing the Krell ship lurked somewhere above. What makes these humans special is exactly what the Krell would never understand, she whispered. Their chaos is their strength. The Krell warship emerged from subspace with the subtlety of a thunderclap. 3 times larger than the asterisk stellar inquiry asterisk, its black hull bristled with weapons ports. Concordat vessel, came the transmission. This system is now under Dominion protection. Depart immediately. On the bridge, Jun maintained his composure. Krell Commander, we are conducting a scientific survey under Article 7 of the Galactic Charter. Your charter means nothing. We claim this system and its primitive inhabitants. The transmission cut. Minutes later, Krell landing craft descended toward Earth's largest cities. We must warn them, Hannah urged. Non-interference is absolute, Min reminded her. They watched in horror as the first Krell attack struck a city called Tokyo. The expected submission never came. Instead, human military forces converged with startling coordination. Their primitive weapons should have been useless against Krell shield technology. But the humans adapted. They observed. They learned. Impossible, whispered Dai as they watched humans reverse engineer captured Krell technology within hours. When a human fighter squadron used the planet's magnetic field to disrupt Krell targeting systems, a tactic no spacefaring race would consider, Jun realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. They think differently, he said. The Krell expect logic. Humans use intuition. Hannah and her team were recalled to the asterisk stellar inquiry asterisk immediately. They materialized on the transport pad still wearing their human disguises, rushing to the bridge without changing. The Krell have deployed 15 attack ships, Officer Sun reported. Standard conquest formation. The main view screen showed the attack on Tokyo. Krell forces had established a perimeter around the city center. Their energy weapons cut through buildings with ease. Yet something unexpected was happening. Rather than flee, human military units were moving toward the attack, adapting their tactics with each failed approach. Look at their communication patterns, Hannah said, studying the data. They're sharing information globally. Every military on the planet is analyzing the Krell technology. It won't help them, Min said grimly. Krell shields are impenetrable to their weapons. As if challenging his words, a human aircraft approached a Krell ship from high altitude. Instead of firing weapons, it dropped something that appeared primitive, a metal container. The Krell shields flashed as they repelled the object. See, their weapons can't penetrate. Min stopped mid-sentence. The metal container had exploded outside the shield, releasing a cloud that clung to the shield's energy field. Wherever the particles touched, the shield became visible, its pattern revealed. They're mapping the shield frequencies, Daz said in disbelief. With powder. Within minutes, human forces had adjusted. Their next attack targeted specific points in the shield pattern. It wasn't enough to break through, but the Krell ship was forced to increase power to those sections. They identified a weakness in one attack. Jum observed. No species we've encountered adapts that quickly. The battle continued below. The Krell had expected easy victory against a primitive world. Instead, they faced resistance unlike anything in their military doctrine. Human forces suffered terrible losses, but refused to surrender. Each defeat provided new information they used in their next approach. The Krell are requesting reinforcements. Communications Officer Bin announced. They claim the humans are using unconventional warfare. 6 hours into the attack, The first Krell ship fell. Humans had sacrificed dozens of aircraft to deliver a simple payload: water. Not as a weapon, but to cool a section of the shield until its energy field destabilized, allowing a conventional missile through. Water, Dai whispered. Such a simple solution. Why didn't we ever think of that? Because it's inefficient, Min replied. It sacrifices too many resources for minimal gain. Yet it worked, Hana pointed out. They accepted losses we would consider unacceptable to learn what they needed. The Krell commander's face appeared on their view screen again. His gray features were contorted with rage. Concordat vessel. These primitives have technology beyond their development stage. You have violated the non-interference directive. June stood calmly. We have provided nothing to the humans. Their response is entirely their own. Impossible. No primitive species defeats Krell forces. Another report came in. Humans in a place called India had captured a Krell soldier. Instead of executing their enemy, they were studying its equipment, taking it apart piece by piece. Director, Hana said urgently, the humans are adapting the Krell communication technology. They're beginning to intercept Krell transmissions. The Krell commander ended communication abruptly. On the screens, they watched as the Krell forces regrouped, changing tactics. They launched a massive strike against a human city called New York, expecting to break human morale. The humans responded with a global coordination that surprised even the Concordat observers. Military units from countries that had been enemies for centuries worked together. Scientists shared information without concern for nationality or profit. Their social structure is transforming, Hana noted. They're unifying in ways their history suggested was impossible. 24 hours into the invasion, humans had adapted Krell energy weapons to their own use. They mounted captured technology on their vehicles, creating hybrid weapons platforms that the Krell defense systems didn't recognize. The Krell are withdrawing from Tokyo, Sun announced. They're consolidating forces. This defies all invasion models, Min said. The humans should have surrendered by now. Another Krell ship fell, this one to a coordinated attack that used the planet's own electromagnetic field to create a disruption in the Krell shields. A human submarine, a primitive underwater vessel, had positioned itself beneath the Krell ship and generated an electromagnetic pulse precisely calibrated to the shield frequency. No Concordat tactician would have considered using a planet's natural field as a weapon, Jun said. It's too unpredictable, too difficult to control. That's exactly why it worked, Hana realized. The Krell couldn't defend against what they couldn't imagine. By the third day, the Krell were in retreat. 7 of their 15 ships had been disabled or destroyed. The human cost was enormous. Cities damaged, thousands dead. But their resistance had not wavered. The Krell commander is hailing us, Bin reported. The alien's face appeared, his expression unreadable to human eyes, but clear to the Concordat crew. He was furious and confused. This planet is under your protection, he accused. No primitive species fights like this. You have armed them. We have done nothing, Jun replied. Perhaps your understanding of primitive needs revision, Commander. After the transmission ended, the bridge crew stood in silence, watching as the remaining Krell ships pulled back to a higher orbit. What do we do now? Min asked. The humans have seen advanced technology. They've even captured some. Now, Jun said, we face a new question. We came seeking advanced civilizations to join our alliance. He looked at the view screen showing Earth, parts of it still burning from the attack. Instead, we may have found something more valuable. A young species with the potential to surpass us all. This data proves it, Hana said, showing brain scans to the assembled crew. Human neural architecture allows for conceptual leaps. They make connections without intermediate steps. The team had been secretly providing technological hints to key human scientists, bending non-interference protocols to their breaking point. There's more, Dai added. Their genetic diversity is extraordinary. Their DNA contains dormant sequences unlike anything in our database. On the screens, they watched humans around the world uniting against the Krell threat. Nations that had been enemies for centuries pooled resources and knowledge. The Krell commander appeared again on their communication channel. Final warning, Concordat observers. Depart this system. Our cleansing bombardment begins in 6 hours. After the transmission ended, Jun stood. We have a decision to make. The humans will be destroyed, Min stated flatly. Perhaps not, Hannah said. Look, on Earth, something remarkable was happening. Human scientists, working with fragments of information and captured technology, had created a global shield network. As the Krell fleet moved into attack position, the shield activated, but it wasn't merely defensive. Somehow, the humans had created a resonance wave that targeted Krell power systems specifically. One by one, the mighty Krell warships went dark. The bridge of the asterisk, Stellar Inquiry asterisk, fell silent as they watched the impossible unfold on their screens. 10 Krell warships, each representing technology centuries beyond human development, drifted powerless in Earth orbit. How did they do that? Navigator Tao finally asked, breaking the stunned silence. Hannah's fingers flew across her console, analyzing the human shield network. They adapted the Krell shield technology, but they've modified it in ways that... She paused, checking her readings. This shouldn't be possible. They've created a harmonic resonance that targets specific power signatures. The Krell use standardized power cores, Engineer Day said, all exactly the same frequency and output. It's their doctrine, perfect uniformity. And the humans exploited that uniformity, Jun realized. They created a counter-frequency that flows through their shield. But how do they know the exact frequency? Min asked. Even with captured technology, the analysis would take months. Hannah hesitated before answering. I may have left some data where they could find it. The crew turned to look at her. You violated non-interference. Min's voice was sharp with accusation. I provided mathematical formulas only. Hannah defended herself. Basic quantum resonance equations, nothing specific to Krell technology. And they made the connection themselves, Jun finished, which proves your theory about their neural architecture. On the view screen, human military vessels approached the disabled Krell ships. Rather than destroying their helpless enemies, they were establishing boarding parties. They seek to capture rather than destroy, observed Medical Officer Jin, despite all the Krell have done to them. Director, Communications Officer Bin interrupted. We're receiving an encoded transmission from Earth. It's directed specifically at our vessel. The humans know we're here. Min asked, alarmed. Put it through, Jun ordered. A human face appeared on the screen, a woman with dark skin and determined eyes. Behind her, a team worked at equipment that appeared to be a hybrid of human and Krell technology. Unknown vessel, she said. We detected your presence when we activated our shield network. We know you're not Krell. We've observed your ship remaining at a distance throughout the attack. Are you friend or foe? Jun looked at his crew. After a moment, he nodded to Bin. Open a channel. He stepped forward. I am Director Jun of the Galactic Concordat Survey Vessel * Stellar Inquiry *. We are scientific observers. The woman's eyes narrowed. You watched while the Krell attacked us. The Concordat has strict non-interference protocols, Jun explained. We are forbidden from involving ourselves in the development of pre-spacefaring civilizations. Yet some of you helped us, the woman replied. Our scientists found data packets containing critical information, targeted specifically to our research teams. Hannah stepped forward. That was my decision. I believed in your potential. The human woman studied them both. We need to meet, face to face. There are more Krell ships coming. We've detected their approach through the technology we captured. Jun turned to Min. Prepare a meeting party. Full disclosure protocol. The security chief looked shocked. Director, that violates every. The moment the humans disabled the Krell fleet, they earned the right to know the truth, Jun said firmly. Prepare the shuttle. Hours later, Jum, Hana, and Min stood in a secure human military facility. Around them, human scientists and soldiers worked frantically to prepare for the next Krell assault. The woman who had contacted them introduced herself as General G. "Your appearance," she noted with surprise. "You look almost human." "We've adjusted our forms to make communication easier," Jum explained. "Our natural appearance is somewhat different." General G nodded, taking this information with remarkable calm. "We have little time. The Krell reinforcements will arrive in 30 hours. Their fleet is 3 times larger than the first. They will not underestimate you again," Min warned. "The Krell adapt quickly to battlefield conditions." "So do we," Jai replied. "Show them." She led them through the facility to a vast hangar. Inside was a Krell scout ship, partially disassembled. Human scientists swarmed over it like ants, examining every component. "We've learned more about advanced physics in 3 days than in the previous 100 years, Jai explained. "But we need more time." Hannah approached one of the workstations where humans were analyzing Krell shield technology. "You've done remarkable work here, but your approach has a fundamental flaw." The human scientist looked up in surprise. "The Krell will have changed their power core frequencies," Hannah explained. "Your resonance weapon won't work again." "We suspected as much," the scientist replied. "That's why we're working on something new." He showed her designs for a weapon that used Earth's magnetic field in a way Hannah had never considered. The concept was elegant in its simplicity, yet so unorthodox that no Concordat engineer would have conceived it. "This might actually work," she admitted, surprised. Meanwhile, Jum spoke with General G about the broader situation. "The Krell will not stop with one defeat. They see your planet as a resource to be harvested. They will return with greater forces. Then we need allies," G said directly. "Your Concordat, would they help us?" Jun hesitated. "Our laws forbid interference in developing worlds. By even speaking with you now, I am violating our oldest protocols." "Perhaps those protocols need revision," G suggested. "We may be primitive by your standards, but we've just defeated a technologically superior force. Doesn't that earn us some consideration?" Before Jum could answer, an alarm sounded. A human officer rushed in. "General, the captured Krell are awake. They're demanding to speak with whoever is in charge." In a secure room, 3 Krell sat under guard. Their gray, angular bodies were intimidating even in restraint. Their leader, identified by the markings on his uniform, glared at the humans and Concordat representatives. "You dishonor combat with your primitive tricks," the Krell commander hissed. "The Dominion will reduce your world to ash. Your ships are disabled and your forces captured." General G replied calmly. "Perhaps negotiations would be wiser than threats." The Krell's many pupilled eyes shifted to Jun. "The Concordat breaks its own laws. This will be reported to the Galactic Council." "What will also be reported," Jun replied, "is that the Krell attacked a protected research world without provocation." As they left the Krell prisoners, Hannah pulled Jun aside. "Director, I've been analyzing the human genetic data more deeply. There's something you need to see." On a secure terminal, she displayed her findings. Humans possess latent genetic sequences that suggest potential for abilities we've only seen in the most advanced species: neural density, cellular regeneration rates, and this. She pointed to a specific sequence. "This resembles the psychic capability markers found in the Elders." "That's impossible," Min said, looking over their shoulders. "The Elders evolved those abilities over millions of years." "Yet here they are," Hannah insisted. "Dormant, but present. These humans aren't just clever. They're on an evolutionary path we've never witnessed before." As they discussed these revelations on screens around them, they could see the human shield network expanding, preparing for the coming Krell assault. June watched General G directing her forces, seeing in her the same determination he'd observed throughout human history. "We came seeking advanced civilizations," he said quietly. "Instead, we found the future." The End.